Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here, got another Master Duel video for you. So we're coming back to Pure Kashtira, and it's actually been a minute since we've covered Pure Cash. The last time that I've covered the variant, or the deck, well, really variants that play a Rise Heart, the past couple of times I think actually has been Kashtira Zodiac. Just, you know, playing the two decks together at about even ratios, like 50-50. But I wanted to come back to Pure Kashtira, especially because I have not played this deck since the Unicorn Semi-Limit. So I wanted to see how the deck felt with only 2 Unicorn. Especially because, you know, this is a deck that even when Unicorn was at 3, was already known as Brick Tira. As in, it was very, it could be very hard sometimes to consistently open well with a deck like this with just so few starters, right? We have added a couple of cards to kind of help compensate with the Unicorn Semi and try to make our deck a little more consistent. Played a Pathfinder. I believe we were playing at 2 copies previously, and now we do have the 3rd. Ogre is a card that I've often played at 1 in this deck, and now I'm playing 2. Just to, like, Ogre obviously doesn't get your play started nearly as well as Unicorn does, but if nothing else, it is a big body, and sometimes that's all you need just to stay alive for a little bit longer. Pot of Extravagance is also a card that I added back in. I have not played with this card, not just in this deck, but in general. For quite some time, pretty much since it got limited. And honestly, a lot of the reason for that is I wasn't the biggest fan of Extravagance even before it got limited. I really don't like that you don't get to pick what you banish from your extra deck. Even in a deck like this where we need relatively few cards from extra, I think it can very, very easily matter, right? But also on top of that, like especially with the Extrav being at 1, it's like now you have to skew your extra deck building for a 1 of, and I don't know. That's kind of one of the main like lack of incentives, I guess, for me running Extrav. And again, not only this, but a lot of decks. But I will say that Kashtira, we can play a lot of cards here that we actually want to get banished face down by a Pot of Extravagance or Prosperity. That way they can get attached by the Rise Heart. Among those, we have Entess for some pops, we have Garura for draws, Omega's potential graveyard disruption, and of course the Infinite Goliath, while attached, will prevent the Rise Heart from being destroyed by card effects. So that's pretty good. So in that regard, like I said, you do already have cards in your extra deck that you want to get banished, making it a little bit easier to play the Extrav, but again, I just really don't like that you don't get to pick. I know obviously if you did, the card would be too good, but yeah, especially like, I don't know, even if you're on a 3 Era and a 3 Rise Heart, I only own 2, so I'm only on 2, but even if you own 3 of each, like, you know, it's still very possible to get 3 of one of them banished, right? And either way, whether it's Era or Rise Heart, you're not looking in the best shape if something like that ends up happening. We do play 2 Dark Armed Dragon, the Dragon of Annihilation, kind of to help with the Extrav and Prosperity a little bit. I thought about doubling up on Big Eye instead, but I don't know. I go into these 2 rank 7s probably about the same frequency. Neither of them can attack, so neither of them can become Zeus, so that doesn't really matter, I guess, in that regard. I can see a world where I cut Metal Flare Dragon for Big Eye, because I gotta be real, although I'm not a Kashtira main, I don't think I've ever once summoned this card in Kashtira. I don't think I've ever been in a situation playing Kashtira where I was like, you know what, I want to give up 2 of my monsters to summon a Metal Flare Dragon. That's what I want to do right now. So, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, there is a game that we're going to see here where I could have summoned Metal Flare, but I opt for what I believe to be a better play instead. But what else is going on with this build here? Oh, we have Mourners. Again, I crafted a playset of Mourner for the Challenger Cup, and I thought that this would be a very good opportunity to make use of our full playset here. Because, of course, the ability to negate monster effects, very, very good in this meta. We're rocking the triple imperm here. The problem with Effect Veiler is that it needs to go exactly to the graveyard. So if you have a Rise Heart on the field, or if you have Shifter up, you're not going to be able to use the Veiler. That's why we play the Mourner instead. Because Mourner, much like Ash Blossom, only requires itself to be discarded, right? So that means it is a monster negate hand trap that you can play through a banished condition. Again, whether that be the Shifter or the Rise Heart. We do still play Maxi, of course, because even though this also has to go exactly to the graveyard, it's just so good of a card that even if it conflicts sometimes, it's like, yeah, you just still play it, of course. But, yeah, I don't know. As far as how I feel about the deck as a whole right now, I think it's a little weak. That said, I understand why Unicorn is at 2. I actually saw someone leave a really disingenuous comment, not on the video, but just in general on the internet, about Kashtira the other day, where they were like, we can limit Unicorn, we just give them back another birth. We did that trade before, let's do it again. It's like, no, I call that disingenuous because, like, it's so obvious that Unicorn is so much better than birth, especially the 3rd birth. Like, even when birth was at 3, Pure Cash, I think, still only played 2. Like, it doesn't matter if this card's at 2 or 3, because, again, even in a Pure Cash deck, you're generally only going to play 2 copies. Also, again, nowhere near comparable to the Unicorn. In fact, I've seen quite a few people, especially on, like, r/Master Duel, which, like, well, but I've seen quite a few people say that, like, oh, Unicorns just get banned already. The big thing I see is that people say, it's too generic, you see it in every deck. That's just fundamentally untrue. Unicorn shows up outside of Kashtira in exactly Snake-Eye. You see Unicorn a lot because it's playable in Snake-Eye, and Snake-Eye is the best deck right now. If Snake-Eye gets hit, you will see less Unicorn. Another hit to Unicorn at this rate, even going to 1, would just be a death knell for Kashtira. And I know, and I've seen people say this too, I've seen a lot of people say, like, who cares if Cash is unplayable? That's just like a very childish mindset. I'll say it. It's an extremely childish way to think. I don't like this deck, so nobody should be allowed to play it ever. Well, it's like, okay, that doesn't mean the deck is, like, overpowered, though. Like, unfun and overpowered are 2 entirely different things, and I'm not gonna lie, it's actual insanity to me when I see people say that, like, them hating a deck is enough justification to ban it. Like, imagine if you had a friend who was, like, writing to your local city government to repaint all yellow buildings because they hate the color yellow, and they were being, like, unironically serious about it. You would probably think that person's unhinged, right? That's kind of how I view people who say, like, yeah, I hate this deck, so that's good enough reason for it to get banned. Like, yeah, let's just make Kashtira unplayable because who cares? It's like, well, there are people who care. And even beyond that, it's like, the principle of the ban list should not be to ban cards that are disliked. If we banned every card that was disliked, there wouldn't be cards left to play, because that's how it goes, right? But I don't know. I don't get it, personally. Again, I think it's kind of unhinged to say, like, I hate this card, so nobody should be allowed to play with it ever for any reason. But, yeah, again, also going back to the argument of, like, Unicorn's too generic. It's in every deck. Again, outside of Kashtira, it's in exactly Snake-Eye and nothing else. I mean, you can put it in the deck, like, I don't know, Sword Soul or something. Like, yeah, you can play this card generically. There's no restriction aside from having monsters on the field that stops you. But is that optimal? No, no. I guess Vanquish Soul. Vanquish Soul is, like, the other deck that you might see Unicorn in. But, again, outside of this deck, its own archetype in exactly Snake-Eye, you're not going to see much of Unicorn. Anyway, that's kind of my spiel about Kashtira Unicorn. As far as Cash as a whole goes, I don't know, I just think the deck is really weak right now as far as consistency. Like, when it can get going, yeah, it's, like, the Arise Heart can be... I also see people still calling for Arise Heart to get banned. It's like, this card is completely fine. It's macro plus Trident. Like, and I've seen people... I still see people saying, like, it's macro plus Trident. Saying it that way as if, like, that's a reason for it to get banned. But I say it's macro plus Trident to be, like... Those are 2 cards that are extremely easy to out. Like, I don't know, Imperm, Nib, God, like, pick your poison, honestly. Like, there's anyway. It's all a spiel I've had before. I think that's pretty much everything I have to say about Kashtira. Like I said, I don't think the deck needs any more hits. I think it's fine where it is. I think it's even a little weak where it is right now. I understand Unicorn being semied for being a part of Snake-Eye, and at least somewhat generic in that regard, but again, this card is not in every deck. It's in exactly the second Snake-Eye. But yeah, let's just break down the deck list here, card by card, and then we'll start seeing some games. We are on 3 Maxi, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 3 Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill, 3 Planet Pathfinder, 3 Kashtira Rise Heart, 2 Dimension Shifter, 1 Kashtira Fenrir, 2 Kashtira Unicorn, 2 Kashtira Ogre, 1 Scareclaw Kashtira, 1 Reinforcer of the Army, 1 Pot of Extravagance, 2 Triple Tactics Talent, 1 Pot of Prosperity, 3 Kashtira Theosis, 1 Pressured Planet Raitsoth, 2 Kashtira Birth, 1 Crossout Designator, 3 Infinite Permanents, 1 Kashtira Big Bang, and then finally 1 Kashtira Preparations. That's going to be our main deck there. For our extra deck, we're on 1 Elder Entity Entis, 1 Garura Wings of Resonant Life, 1 Ciphering Lord Omega, 1 Baron de Fleur, 1 number 11 Big Eye, 1 Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon, 2 Dark Armed, the Dragon of Annihilation, 3 Kashtira Shangri-Ira, 2 Kashtira Arise Heart, 1 Divine Arsenal Awe, Zeus Sky Thunder, and then finally 1 Infinitrack Goliath. That'll be it for our list. Let's see some games. Okay, so our first opponent is going to be on Snake-Eye. They are playing the cash package. They are also playing Synchros, as well as the Horus Kashtira, Nightingale, and Zeus, which I don't know. I don't think those cards are horrible, but I just don't see how you have space for them. Anyway, this opening hand is phenomenal, honestly. Like, with a hand like this, it's very easy to forget this deck ever had consistency problems. We have the Extra, we have the Rate Soft, we already have the Unicorn, so I can just grab Scareclaw Cash here. As far as what we banished for Extrav 2, it's pretty good for us. We did lose our Zeus, which is not ideal. Yeah, Goliath, Omega, and Garura are here. So, as well as both of our Dark Armed Dragon of Annihilation. So, yeah, I mean, losing Zeus isn't ideal, but it's definitely still not that bad. Here, I am going to end up going for the Ira plus a Rise Heart play, but I actually have the ability to make a 3-mat Arise Heart plus the Ira as well. One thing that can be a little bit dicey when playing this deck sometimes is just the notion of having to end on the 1 material Arise Heart, because while it is macro at that point, it's not even Trident yet until a couple of cards get played. I mean, that's the other thing about Arise Heart too, and why I don't think it needs to get banned with all of Kashtira's other hits, is that, like, it's such an easy card to out, not only in terms of, like, it's very telegraphed, but, like, it sets up its own triple attack. I don't know. But, yeah, here, because, again, we have that Scareclaw Cash, we can make a 3-mat Arise Heart in addition to the Ira, which is pretty nice. They're going to lead with normal Poplar, add the Subversion. Obviously not ideal. It means our Arise Heart's going to get pushed out. So, basically, I'm going to want to use up pretty much all of my activations now. I'm going to use the Arise Heart to, of course, start attaching stuff. I'm also going to use the effect to banish the Poplar here, because, again, I know my opponent has a Subversion. They just added it, and I know that that's going to be an out to Arise Heart. One of many right there. Now, as you can see here, I did start blocking the wrong main monster zones. I should have blocked these two that were below the other EMZ instead of the one below Ira. That way they couldn't really use Link monsters or, like, have zones where stuff is being pointed to, but yeah, I just wasn't really thinking about it in the moment. That said, only having access to 2 main monster zones is going to be enough of an issue, likely going to be enough of an issue for Snake-Eye to have to play through anyway. Now here, I don't normally Ash Blossom the original Sin, but I had a Maxi in hand, so I figured if the Ash Blossom did get negated, I could just chain the Maxi. They do have the Cross-Eyed here, but again, like I said, we can just use the Maxi. I also do have the Ghost Mourner in hand, so even not counting the Maxi draws, I do have a way to out my opponent's stuff here. And again, this is why we play Mourner over Veiler, because if they didn't have Subversion, and I still had the Arise Heart up, or if I'd used Shifter during turn 1, right, I would not be able to activate Effect Veiler right now. So, the Ghost Mourner negating the Snake-Eye Ash is definitely very... Again, I love having the ability to have more monster negates, but still being able to do that under Banish, right? I've had somebody in Twitch chat recently ask me if Ghost Mourner was worth the craft. I haven't used it a whole lot, but I do still think it was worth the craft. Like, I definitely don't mind having a playset at all. And there have been decks where I consider playing Mourner in addition to Veiler and Imperm, for whatever that's worth. I don't think I've actually had a build like that so far, but it's something I have considered in the past. So, I think, again, if you're playing a Shifter deck, I think Mourner is hugely worth it. If you are considering more monster negates, like if you're already maxed out on Veiler and Imperm, then I would consider Mourners as well. That could be for ladder, or that could be for best of 3. If you're playing in tournaments where best of 3 is a thing, I also think Mourner is a good craft for the side deck generally, especially again in this meta. Don't mind me, I'm just flexing a little bit with the zone blocking before I finish my opponent off here. And there we have it. Yeah, that's a pretty typical Kashtira game. I guess normally the Arise Heart, again, in that situation would be 1 material instead of 3 like ours was, but because we opened with a really solid hand and had an extra extender, we were able to make a 3 Actually, it was 2 extra extenders or just the 1? Either way, we made a 3-mana Rise Heart in addition to the Era, so that's about as good as a turn 1 board is going to get for Kashtira. Well, I mean, obviously you could do better, but for the most part, like from what you can generally expect, that's a pretty optimal turn 1 end board. Let's see some more games. Yeah, let's see another duel here. Okay, coming up here, we got one of the only decks that's probably hated more than Kashtira, and that is going to be Stun. Being playing against Stun here. And as you can see, they get to take the first turn. Certainly not ideal for me. Although this hand is definitely not bad. I don't know, like, I actually had some pretty okay hands, all things considered. Although I did have quite a few bricky hands as well. No, now that I think about it, I had a lot of bricky hands. Like, I had a whole loss streak in Master 3. I actually, it's funny that people still want this deck hit, because I gotta level with you. I went down from Master 2 to Master 4 just getting the games for this deck. It was kind of brutal, honestly. I see why not a lot of people are on pure cash anymore. It just doesn't feel good to play. Not even from like a, I don't know, toxicity standpoint or whatever. But I still think it's weird. I've said this before. Oh, let me rant about something else here for a second. Cosmic Cyclone. I've said it so many times, especially lately. I'll say it again. Don't play this card. This card is terrible, especially in Best of 1. Like, this card is the ultimate noob trap. Even in Best of 3, even in all the formats I've played, all the tournaments I've played where I side deck, I've never once included this card because it's garbage. It's ass. Don't play Cosmic Cyclone. If it's in your deck, take it out right now. Because I'm telling you, there are so many better cards you can be playing, even in the realm of Spell Trap Destruction, which is already, like, very conditional and not the best in Best of 1, but don't play Cosmic Cyclone. It's a bad card. Anyway. What was I saying? Oh yeah, toxicity. It's always been really weird to me when Yu-Gi-Oh! Players call a deck toxic. Like, I always equate toxicity to, like, really hateful or harmful behavior, like somebody, like, saying a slur or something like that. I've never once felt like, and as somebody who's received slurs more than once, I can tell you, I've never once felt like any game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, came close to, like, like somebody saying a slur to me, I don't get it. I truly don't fathom it. Like, I don't know. Anyway. So here we managed to grind our opponent out of resources pretty nicely. They did end up having a skill drain, but we did ultimately manage to leave them in top deck mode. One moment I talked over that was a little bit scary was this Armory Call here, as it was threatening to equip the Moon Mirror Shield, which obviously the Moon Mirror Shield in the Fossil Dina definitely would have been a bit of a problem. But thankfully we had the Ash Blossom, and this does add and then equip. So because it adds from deck to hand, we were able to Ash it and call it good there. Still got a couple more games to see. Let's check out the next one. Alright, this game's going to be against Horus Stun. I finally ran into this deck. After seeing people complain about it for so long, I feel like it took me a while to finally start seeing it, which even then I've only run into it like maybe 3-4 times total. But we get to go first here, so that's pretty good. Again, it's really easy to look at these hands that I'm opening in the games that I'm showing and say, like, oh, Kashtira's fine, but again, not featured are any of my games for my loot. Well, maybe one of them, I don't remember if it's in there or not, but none of my opening hands from my lose streak all the way through Master 3. This deck just is, it's so inconsistent now, like even more so. It's also just wild to me how people will, like, mock a deck, and, well, not mock, but, like, poke fun at a deck and call it, like, Brick Tira, and then in the same breath be like, yeah, but it was just ban the cards. And it's just like, huh? Anyway, I've ranted enough about that in this video. Like, I've said it a million times before, I'll say it again. Unfun and unbalanced. 2 entirely different concepts, and it pays to open your mind a little, expand it, and separate them. Definitely does. Anyway, here they did manage to Gamma me, as well as, what other hand trap did they use? It was Max C. We had the cross out for that. Only going to end on Era Unicorn, though, so definitely not the best position to be in, especially after getting Lava Golem, but however, they don't seem to have much of a follow-up with that. So, going to take the 1k from Lava Golem, normal summon the Pathfinder here, battle the opponent for a little over 4k because of the rates off, and then pass back over to them. So here they are going to drop the Feather Duster on the Rape Soth. I don't really know why, but okay. Set a monster and then pass. Yeah, so, you know, that's the thing about stun as well. I feel like stun has a lot of the same issues that Kashtira does with consistency. Especially when it comes to, like, actually having floodgates. Like, you know, I'll even show you the stun list here. Like, stun is just so weak nowadays. Not that I personally have an issue with that, but, like, as you can see here, like, as far as floodgates go, you know, there is the Secret Village of the Spellcaster for spells. That is conditional, though, assuming they have, like, you know, one of their Horus monsters in play. They have the 1 skill drain. They have summon limit. The 1, there can be only 1. And then Power Sink Stone. So, I don't know. Like, stun is definitely annoying. Like, here's the thing. I don't want to come off as saying, like, any complaint you have about a deck like Kashtira or Stun is invalid. Like, no, of course it's, like, it's fine to complain about these decks. It's fine to not enjoy playing against them. But to, like, say they need to get banned for that reason because you don't enjoy playing against them, and that reason alone is, I think, pretty disingenuous. Like, you know, looking at Stun nowadays, does it even really need any more hits? Like, yeah, maybe some limit to 1, but otherwise, like, I don't know, that's fine. Anyway, I got one more game to see. Let's check that out. And our final game is a little bit of a mirror match. We're playing against another Cash deck, but it's Horus Kashtira. And I actually did consider trying this variant, but I wanted to see how that's seen. Here we go. That's more what a typical Kashtira hand looks like. No, I wanted to see I wanted to see how it felt to play pure Cash right now. And again, not good. Horus Cash is pretty interesting. I find a lot of the time from lists I've seen that it tends to pretty much just be Horus Stun with Kashtira monsters. Because you might think, like, well, doesn't the Arise Heart conflict with the Horus stuff? Although, to be fair, you could also, like, just do your Horus plays and then do a Kashtira board. Because I have seen builds like that, too. I think our opponent's build is actually, yeah, it is like this, where they are, it's not just a stun deck with cash cards. As you can see, they have the Scareclaw Cash and the Wraithsoth. And funnily enough, they had almost the exact same opening play that I did, which is Ash Blossom plus Scareclaw Cash for Baron de Fleur. But, like, you could still set up all your Horus stuff and then make rank gates and then make a Rise Heart, certainly. I just thought this game was funny because not only is it a mirror match, again, to an extent, but again, our opponent and I had, like, the exact same opening line of Ash Blossom plus Scareclaw Cash into pass. Unfortunately, in a Baron fight, the turn player is pretty much always going to win it because they can pop, you negate, and then they negate your negate. So here I am going to chain to the Baron pop. I'll call Ash Blossom here in case they do have it for my Maxi, if the Maxi even ends up coming up here. They're going to use the Field Spell F to search an Imseti, but thankfully they have to put that other card back, which means they won't be able to actually use Imseti's effect just yet. Going to battle me again directly with the Baron de Fleur, passing back over, so face down card I believe is the only unknown at this point. Top decking a Theosis, and then yeah, that's just not going to do it, which is unfortunate, but I don't know. I was going to say so many top decks, but what would we have top decked that would have helped us out there? Pathfinders, of course, have been good. Fenrir, Unicorn, that's 6 cards. Extrav, maybe. Prosp, maybe. Wraithsoth, that's 3. The Pathfinders, I guess, so that's what did I say, Pathfinder already? Yeah, I did. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Did I really only have, like, 7 good top decks that would help me there? That's wild. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I've been a little bit of a broken record this video, so I know I've almost assuredly ruffled some feathers, but I don't know. It's just, again, I don't think that a deck being unfun means that it has to get hit, and I certainly still maintain my point that I think it's unhinged to think I hate this deck, so it should be banned. I think that's childish. It's like, I don't like this, so no one should be allowed to have it. It's like, okay. But yeah, I think that in the future, when I revisit Cash, it'll probably be with Zodiacs or Horus. I just don't see pure Cash being super worth it in this current, well, not even the current format, just with the current ban list on Master Duel. The deck is definitely, it's a shell of its former self, like, much more so in the way that a deck like Tearlament is. Again, another deck that's been heavily hit, but Tear is still extremely consistent. So, I think that's about all I have to say for this one. So thanks for watching these games. Let's move now to our outro. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. That means a lot to me. It's also a great way to support the channel, so thank you very much in that way as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other ways, like the very special patrons that I am thanking here, you can do so by checking out some of the links in the description. One of those goes to the Patreon, where you can join these fine folk and support the channel that way. I do post daily content over on Patreon, so you do get something for support there. And if you're interested, I also have a coaching tier option as well. Details again will be on Patreon in the link below. Also in the description linked below is my Twitch page where I stream a few times a week. You can go ahead and check that out, follow or subscribe over there if you ever want to catch me live. You'll also find my second YouTube channel if you feel like subscribing over there to watch some of the Twitch VODs as well as some additional non-Yu-Gi-Oh related content that I make over there. Again, any of those links you want to check out is all a great way of supporting. But again, even if you don't do that, just watching was also a fantastic way to support. And once again, I have to thank you so very much. But in any case, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out, and I'm hoping you have a fantastic day.